Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, regardless of where you are. It's always a good time to learn new things. It's always a good time to have a conversation. Today, we will continue our discussions about the book, Our Daily Bread, and we're going to be talking about chapter 8, which is called Anxieties, very appropriate for our daily lives and our daily experiences. Before that, I'd like to thank Kardec Radio for the opportunity to have us here, having moments like this, having these kinds of exchange of ideas. Kardec Radio is in several platforms in different social medias, and they are also on X, on the X platform, which was formerly known as Twitter. So if you want to leave your comments or questions, you can leave those in the X platform. All right. For us to begin, let's go ahead and close our eyes and get ready for our initial prayer. We'd like to thank our spiritual benefactors for being so patient with us always and always trying to guide us and give us strength in our moments of difficulties. And we also want to thank for all the inspiration they provide to us during our moments of choices, especially in those moments of tough choices. May God's love and peace be always with us. And may we be receptive to all the positive energy that is around us. And may we push away, may we eliminate any kind of negativity that's around us, especially that negativity that impacts us and impacts our loved ones. May God's peace be with all of us. So be it. All right. So tonight is night for me. Um, but regardless, again, where we are, where you are in the world, let's talk about anxieties. And this is quite interesting because it is based on the teachings by Peter, Peter, chapter 5, verse 7, and goes like this: Cast all of your anxiety on him because he cares for you. This chapter is quite interesting because Peter refers to different aspects of humility. So he indicates that we have to be humble. He indicates also that we gotta be vigilant because our selfishness and our pride they might drive us to make many mistakes and to hurt others and to hurt ourselves and to steer away from God. And in verse 7, he reminds us that we gotta have faith in him, in this case, God. Emmanuel proceeds here by explaining to us that anxieties trigger many crimes on earth and are never constructive. So, anxieties do trigger crimes, and crimes, of course, here he's talking about mistakes. When we're anxious, when we are desperate, we do tend not to think things through and to perform acts that might be hurtful to either ourselves or to our loved ones. So Emmanuel warns us of those circumstances here. And he also mentions to us that anxiety is never constructive. Again, for the same reasons, when we are anxious, we are so disconnected from the good. We're so disconnected from our good spiritual friends, and we do tend to connect to the spirits of lower order, and in the process our actions are never constructive. Emmanuel continues his explanation here, indicating that invariably the anxious man has all the odds against him. And it is quite interesting because again, when somebody's anxious, when somebody is worried, overly worried about circumstances he or she, and of course he refers man here in general terms, but any individual who is anxious has odds against him or her, meaning he is not in the best conditions to make any decisions, and most likely he or she will make mistakes. In opposition, so this is quite interesting now. The way Emmanuel describes the opposition, he draws a parallel. In this case, in opposition to these anxious, disquieting moments, the lessons about the patience of nature appear in every sector of human pathways. So, so we just observe nature. Nature is very interesting. Nature provides us lessons to us. Just observe what happens, the way nature handles the different situations. For instance, if there is a river flowing, the river takes years and years to form, and it's always going to find a path. A lot of times what the rivers do is they find a path through the rock. Again, it might take millions of years, but a river might dig through a rock, or a river might deviate its path and to go around any kind of obstacle. But again, it takes years, hundreds of years, thousands of years, and a lot of times millions of years. Look at all the formations of the earth, all the rock formations. Those are created due to the action of rain, of the wind, and a lot of times of the ocean. And it's not something that happens overnight. Those are processes in nature that takes, again, millions of years to process. So just think about our own evolution. We think about human beings, we think that our ancestors were here 3 million years ago, which is not true, give or take 3 million years ago. But in essence, what we are now, from a physical evolutionary standpoint, we are actually a product of something like 3.5 billion years of evolution, because it was like around that time when the first molecules, the first organic molecules appeared on Earth, and that's when we saw the monada, when we saw the genesis of life here on Earth. So everything in nature takes a while. So the same thing, we gotta apply the kind of the same mindset to our lives and to our circumstances, and just let nature follow its course. Let life follow its course. Not be anxious. Whatever is going to happen will happen. Whatever is out of our hands, it's out of our hands. And whatever we can change, of course, we're going to be able to change. So there's no need for us to be anxious about circumstances that we cannot control, because again, there's nothing we can do about those. And we should not be anxious about situations we can control, that we can change, because again, we need to have, in those circumstances, need to have a clear mind to make the right choices and to handle those situations and to take the correct action, the proper action. And again, we need to have a clear mind and a clear heart, which would not happen to us were we anxious in those circumstances. Emmanuel reminds us here that if man had been born to be constantly anxious, it would be as if to say that he had come to this earth not in the category of a sanctifying laborer, but rather as a desperate, unpardonable soul. So again, Emmanuel reminds us here that again, if we came here just to suffer, just to be stressed out, what would be the point? Instead of, it talks about laborer, which labor means work, and sanctifying laborer, that labor that sanctifies us, that work that allows us to grow. So instead of being like that, then we'll be just suffering, just with this desperation, and I mean, it would be unnecessary suffering just for us. And furthermore, he tells us that if human beings could reflect more sensibly, they would be able to recognize the actual context of service that the moments of each day offer. So it's kind of interesting. Again, if you're anxious, a lot of times when you're anxious, or I'll say whenever you're anxious, you do not have a clear mind and you're not able to see a clear path. And especially you're not able to see the opportunities that are offered to us. So in this case here, there are moments of service, there are moments of positivity, there are constructive moments that life offers to us, and those are offered to us at every moment. So we need to have this. Emmanuel talks about to reflect more sensibly, to rationalize, to act using your mind as opposed to act using your heart when you're anxious and you're so stressed out that you cannot see the opportunities, the positive opportunities that life offers to us. He proceeds here indicating that they would try to be more vigilant and give proper value to their own assets. So, two things here. He is reminding us that we have to be vigilant, we have to be pay attention. And again, if we are in a moment of desperation, when in moments of desperation, when we do not think clearly, then we're not being vigilant. We're not paying attention. We do not have open eyes to see all the circumstances, to see the overall picture, and give proper value to their own assets. Basically, give proper value to the assets, to the opportunities that we have around us. Undoubtedly, he proceeds here explaining. So, undoubtedly, the scenery changes constantly, obliging us to encounter unpleasant surprises as a result of our inadequate attitudes while experiencing happiness or pain. So this is interesting. So everything changes in life. The thing that is constant in life is change. Things will always change all the time. And interestingly enough, they all change for the best. We just don't see that. And again, when we get so disconnected due to our emotions, we do not see the good in everything that happens to us. Now, there are circumstances that are unpleasant, and this is part of our experience of living on planets like planet Earth, which is a planet of trials and tribulations, where again, you're going to be tested, you're going to be put to the test. Also, you're going to expiate, you're going to make amends to mistakes you've done in the past. So, of course, there are going to be unpleasant surprises. And those are the results of inadequate attitudes that we had in the past. And for the most part, of course, we have trials that tend again to test us, to test our level of development. But also we expiate. We go through situations that are the results of our past actions. A lot of time, and of course, some of according to the gospel according to Spiritism, several of those actions are from our present life. A lot of times we go through unpleasant surprises. We go through less than pleasant experiences due to mistakes that we've made in this particular life. But we also go through experiences, through trials, actually, I should say, through tribulations that are due to actions that we took in our previous lives. And it's interesting that Emmanuel talks about the attitudes that we had while experiencing happiness or pain. So, again, that's why we have to be so mindful and using the terms that he used before here, being vigilant, because how are we going to act in the moments of happiness will generate a consequence. Everything in the universe operates under the premises of the law and effect. There's also a moral law, which is called the law of freedom, which indicates that we have free will to act and to make our decisions. So, and regardless of if we make those decisions in the moments of happiness, in the good moments, or in the moments of pain, or where should I say, the moments that are not so good. So again, there's always repercussions in our lives and in the lives of others. So again, we have to and he continues here indicating that, however, an essential imposition of the law obliges us to proceed daily in the direction of goodness. So regardless of what we're going through, regardless of the circumstances we're going through that are the product, most likely the product of our previous mistakes, the law of progress is a law of the universe that forces us to proceed. So and Emmanuel uses the term here, obliges us. It forces us because again, the same way that the law of freedom is a law of the universe, is one of the moral laws. Also, the law of progress is also one of the moral laws. And by moral law, I mean one of the natural laws of the universe. In the universe, we have all kinds of natural laws. For instance, the law of gravity, the law of electromagnetics, and so those are laws that act on us regardless of where we are. The same way, we also have moral laws, and the moral laws are they impact us wherever we are in the universe as well. And one of the moral laws is the law of progress. So regardless of where you we are in the universe, of wherever we are reincarnated, and regardless of who we are, we're always going to always keep moving forward, always growing. And the universe is going to give us these experiences. Again, some are going to be pleasant, some unpleasant, but all experiences are going to contribute to our growth. So we should not be facing our diversity, I'm sorry, we should not be facing our dilemmas in life like punishments. We should not be facing our challenges as as some kind of retribution from the universe. No, anything we go through always have a meaning, always has the purpose to keep us, to help us move forward. Again, both the good and the circumstances that are not so pleasurable. And Emmanuel continues explaining that anxiety will try to coerce gentle hearts because the terrestrial pathways unfold many dark corners and almost unsolvable problems. So again, anxiety makes everybody suffer. They have a very mundane definition for anxiety, which pretty much states that anxiety is the act of suffering for something that will happen in the future. So even if you have a good heart, I mean, now everybody in the world has goodness, you know, regardless of who that individual is, and regardless of that is that the anxiety will always coerce those hearts. It will always make us feel bad, and it happens. It happens. We're gonna be faced with challenges always because on the terrestrial pathways in our terrestrial experience, there are many dark corners. Meaning there are many unforeseen circumstances or circumstances that to us appear to be unforeseen, and Emmanuel calls here almost unsolvable problems, which is a funny choice of words. He did not say unsolvable problems because, according to Jesus, his burden is light, meaning that whatever we go through life, we will be able to overcome. There is nobody who reincarnates on earth with a mission to fail. Failure is not an option for us when we reincarnate on earth. We're all given our trials and tribulations that are in level of our capabilities. So there's no such a thing as unsolvable problems. There are tougher times and easier times, but again, everything that we go through in life, those circumstances, they are in life in line with our capabilities. Emmanuel continues here explaining that nevertheless, let us not forget the prescription that Peter has given us, which again, Peter is explaining to us that we should not be anxious. We got to trust God. And again, we got to trust God. God is the supreme intelligence, the primary cause of everything in the universe. And not only that, God is love, God is justice as well. So, so to think about, that God would just leave us out there, um, and by ourselves, that's not in line with the attributes of God. So again, if we're going to different difficult times, let's not let anxiety coerce. Let's not let anxiety corrupt our hearts, and let's follow the prescription of Peter that reminds us, hey, no matter what we're going through, let's have faith in our Creator. Here, Emmanuel explains that we gotta place our concerns, right? And disquieting fears in the hopes you have in the celestial Father, because divine loves desires the well-being of all of us. So place trust, basically trust God, and trust God regardless of the concerns we have and our fears as well. Again, God is the creator of the universe. He's the supreme intelligence. So his God is not just any intelligent being. He's the supreme intelligence of the whole universe. But also God's love, and God desires the well-being of all of us. And God, in that we are created to be happy, even though we go through tough times in planets like planet Earth, which is not, which is, due to the planet's stage, overall stage of evolution. But again, we are destined to progress, and we're destined to reach perfection. And that's when we're going to be trouble free. And again, nothing in nature happens quickly. It's going to take millions of years. Some of us are going to be faster, are going to move faster than others. But again, at the end of the day, we're all destined to be perfect spirits at some point. In the last paragraph here, Peter reminds us that it's not just to ardently desire the victory of light, to preserve in search of peace, to discipline yourselves for your own union with the superior planes, to insist in synchronizing with the more evolved spheres. However, bear in mind that anxiety always precedes a fall. So it's interesting here that it is just for us to desire the victory of life. Everybody desires the victory of light. However, most of us has a distorted idea of what that might be. What to me represents the victory of light, the victory of good, to my other brothers and sisters might not be the same. Again, we're all evolving souls. So, but all spirits, they want that. And the same thing, to persevere in the search of peace. So all of us want peace, and all of us want to have a peaceful existence. Now, it is hard for us, due to our imperfections, to have a peaceful coexistence with our brothers and sisters. But all of us, in the very deep, we are all searching for peace, the inner peace, the peace with others, the peace with our communities, and we should also search for peace in the, even with those who are different from us, because again, we are all in different paths of evolution, we all have different experiences, so it is only normal that everybody's going to have his or her own opinion about anything. But again, we got to persevere in our search for peace, and again, not only peace in our community, peace in our country, but peace everywhere in the globe. We're all brothers and sisters. We're all connected in the whole planet. There's a whole psychosphere of energy, of fluids around Earth. So whatever happens in one country impacts everybody else, just due to the situation of how it impacts the psychosphere of the whole planet. So yes, we gotta search for peace inside of us, hope for peace elsewhere in our community, in our country, but also peace in other countries, in other nations in the world. And again, of course, we got to discipline ourselves and try to reach the superior planes. Again, if evolution is going to happen, it is happening to all of us. Of course, it's hard for us to see because it just happens in stages, it never happens overnight. And and of course, to insist in synchronizing with the more evolved spheres. Again, we try to stay connected with our spiritual friends who are at a higher level. However, despite of anything, all of our attempts, the bottom line is that we should never be anxious. And what Emmanuel explains to us here is that anxiety always precedes a fall. So it doesn't matter what good intentions I have. If I'm in search of the light and I search for peace, and try to if discipline myself so I can progress, and also try to be in contact with my spiritual friends of a higher order, the end of the day, I need to have that positive attitude. I need to have the constructive attitude and never let anxiety get on the way, because again, anxiety only destroys, and again precedes a fall. That means that when we are not vigilant and we allow anxiety, stressful thoughts, disharmony, all of those things take hold of us, we're definitely in the wrong direction. So that's our discussion for today. And again, I thank you for your attention, and I thank Kardec Radio for giving us the opportunity to have a forum here for these kinds of conversations. Please go ahead and add your comments or questions. If I do not answer them uh, right away, I will definitely go back and read your comments and your responses, any kind of questions that you might have, and I'll provide my feedback. Always, and again, reminding that Kardec Radio is in different platforms, and they also have their own app. And the good thing about the app is that they provide podcast kind of podcast kind of series as well with different teachings. So yeah, so make sure you download it from either the Apple Store or the Google Play Store. And since Kardec Radio is in so many platforms and is always bringing all kinds of nice programs, such as this one, to all of us, feel free to assist them financially if you're willing to do, and if you can do as well, so they can continue their journey and their mission of dissemination of Spiritism. Now let's close our eyes. Let's connect again with our spiritual benefactors. Let's forget all of our anxieties. Let's forget all of our problems, all of our difficulties, all of our challenges in life. And take this moment to thank all the teachings that have been given to us, not only in this life, but in previous lives. The teachings of the gospel that have always inspired us, even though we're not perfect yet, to put everything that we've been learning and also everything that the Spiritist doctrine has been providing to us. We're not perfect yet to put everything into practice, but at least slowly but surely, as we evolve, as we become better, we are internalizing those teachings and making them more and more and more present in our existences and in our experiences. We thank the Lord for all the patience He's been having with us, all the love. We thank our spiritual friends for all the support they always give us during our moments of difficulties. And may we learn today's lesson, and in our moments of trials and our moments of anxiety, take a deep breath, say a short prayer, thank God for that moment, because there's a lesson there for us. And never forget that we're not perfect. Never forget that we do make mistakes, but that's our pathway to learn and to become better today than we were yesterday. May God's peace be with us. So be it.